It's time for MacBreak Weekly, our last show before the Big Apple announcement. Yes, the invitations are here. We'll talk about that. Microsoft buying Nokia, too little, too late, and a whole lot more. MacBreak Weekly is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 366, recorded September 3rd, 2013. The $18 Toblerone. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by GoToMeeting with HD Faces from Citrix, the powerfully simple way to meet and collaborate with coworkers and clients from anywhere. You can share the same screen and see each other face-to-face with HD video conferencing, even from an iPad. Sign up for your 30-day free trial today. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and use the promo code MacBreak. And by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free trial and 20% off, visit squarespace.com and use the offer code MacBreak9. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers the Macintosh and Apple Spheroverse. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, from Boston, Massachusetts, or its environs. We never really know exactly where Andy is. Andy Anako of the Chicago Sun-Times.
I must present a moving target to my many enemies.
He's got a fork in the fork.
It's my Spock fork.
It looks like bunny ears.
It took an unexpected ride. My garbage disposal. When I took it out, I said, "This is wonderful. There's no way I'm going to fix this."
I've just invented the fork.
I call it the spork.
Rev 2. That does seem like that could be something. Quick, patent it.
I think that if you made those, and even if you paid the licensing fee to Star Trek, you would sell several boxes of these.
I think
that Nimoy should open a bistro, operate for like maybe just 6 weeks, and then just make all of his money just selling T-shirts for the Nimoy bistro with that as the logo.
I think it would work better because of the pointy double-tined effect as well.
Yeah, well, it would trap lots of food and would cause all kinds of lower GI distress without the careful flossing of each piece of utensil.
You have to floss it.
I think that for a cheap joke, I mean, if you're going to get people to open up the sluices at both ends for 5 days after they eat their meal, sometimes it's worth that.
Yowza. Also here, as always, Renee Ritchie of imore.com. Hello, Renee.
Hi, Leo. And I think it's nice that Andy goes and picks up all of Magneto's used forks. I think that's wonderful public service of his.
Quick comic book reference. And from Liverpool, our good friend Don McAllister of Screencasts Online. Nice to see you, Don. I haven't seen you in ages.
It's been a while. I think it was probably because I was so quiet on the last one, but it was the Skype latency. Honestly, it's really hard sometimes to get into you guys because you've all got telepathic connections, when you're going to speak. So I'm going to try my best today to be a bit more chatty. I also realized that I've got my TV in the wrong place as well. It should really be across my shoulder. Mine is actually above my main monitor up there.
I know, you're doing it wrong.
I'll rejig the office for next time.
No, please don't ever feel like we make judgments about people as to how often they participate. I mean, that's not. We never. Don't have that Don on. He hardly said anything. No, we never do that. You're in. You don't have to. You don't have to prove anything.
Yeah, that's okay.
You're always on. Anyway, did you redesign your studio last as we saw you last? Looks different.
A little bit, yeah, sort of. Yeah, I've got. This is
like you're building something back there. What was the wall open? What's going on?
No, that's I've got sort of cupboards down the side to hide all my clutter in cupboards. So that's there.
Your guitars have been put away.
Yeah, it's the usual trick of just showing you a tiny corner of the studio, which is nice and clean and tidy, and everything else is a complete tip. And of course, I've got my walking desk in the studio now as well.
Oh, with a treadmill?
Yeah.
Aren't you fancy?
I wonder if I can. Let me see if I can just.
I've always wanted to do that.
This might work.
Me too.
Holy cow!
There it is. Right.
It's quite the contraption.
I've got my sit-down desk where I'm at now, and I've got my walking desk, so I can. It's only certain things I can do while I'm walking. Using my trackpad pen is out of the question, but standard computer-based stuff, using the keyboard and the trackpad is fine.
Really? You can type?
Oh, type, great, yeah. Type, well, I'm a two-finger typist anyway.
You wouldn't want to do a screencast that way. You'd be going, and then...
Yeah, I have done a podcast once. But,
Did you really?
Yeah, and it wasn't so much getting out of breath that was the problem. It was sort of, the movement of me bouncing up and down. I thought was a bit
Where's
off-putting
Don
to
getting
people.
to? He seems to be walking somewhere.
Well, also there was the problem of your makeup girl having to keep you powdered.
That's the other thing as well, the sweat dripping down. No, it's fine. The thing is, it's not for exercise. It's to keep you moving, so you don't really break out in a sweat, and it's you just do quite a few steps. But I can do like an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half in the afternoon, and it's great.
Well, truthfully, the big story has nothing to do with Apple today, and I think we should mention it. We just did some special coverage with Tom Merritt and company, including our Windows folks, Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Late last night, Labor Day in the United States, big holiday in the United States. Apparently, they were burning the midnight oil, though, because late yesterday, Microsoft announced it was acquiring Nokia for 3.8 euros or something, billion euro. I don't know. It's about $7 billion. Somebody made a graphic. This is from luola.net, courtesy of our chat room. This company, you see, they have 2% of the phone marketplace, just bought this company. They have 1.2%. You have to actually zoom in to see them between Huawei and others. I think this means nothing for Apple. It's like, yeah, fine.
Yeah,
It's common HP.
They're at the kids' table.
Yeah, but my reaction though was that I'm of two minds on it. Number one, that there are a lot of companies that have been simply buying things to give themselves components that they're missing. And remember that Apple was also in this game. They needed a new operating system. They were failing to create a new operating system, so they bought a new operating system, and they bought Steve Jobs back as part of the package. So that worked out buying Next worked out rather well for Apple. So let's not poo-poo this. On the other hand, I think that one of the reasons why the iPhone and the iPad have become a success is that it wasn't simply a product or a product team that they bought and simply switched the nameplates on their buildings. It was part of a consistent brand culture and a consistent product culture. That is, you can't really remove their mobile strategy without affecting every other thing that they're making. Whereas here is a case of Microsoft saying, as Apple did back in the 90s, we don't have a phone hardware business. We really want to have a phone hardware business. Let's buy a phone hardware business. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can, if they will be influenced by Nokia, or if Nokia, everything that is good about Nokia, everything that caused them to make such great phones over the past year, to see the potential of Windows Phone, if that's going to be sort of subsumed by a Microsoft culture. So we're hoping. But the last thought was that, before we get like too proud as Apple people saying, yeah, you see, these people have to farm out their innovation. It can be kind of scary to think that if you have a deep enough wallet, it's possible for you to nod sagely as you look at what Apple is doing and say, yeah, innovation is really important. We should buy a company that does that sort of thing.
Horace Dediu, who is always, we've had him on the show, and is always so astute in his analysis, gave, I think, kind of an interesting take on this on his Simco.com blog. Who is buying whom, he's asking. He says, when you buy a company, you have to think in this way. A company is defined as a sum of three values. The resources, and that's what everybody talks about, how many phones they sell, how big their customer base is. That's the thing that's easy to measure. And generally what is valued when you say this company is worth X billion dollars. But in addition to resources, you're buying two other things that are more intangible: processes and priorities. And I think this is, boy, I never really thought of this way. I don't know if this is standard business school thinking or what, but it's very intriguing. Resources easy to measure, but the real value or change to Microsoft potentially is the priorities. These are fuzzy assets. And processes would be, how things are done. The process of building hardware, for instance, which Microsoft hasn't had great success with, could be of value. But really, and the reason he says it might almost be Nokia acquiring Microsoft is how Microsoft assimilates the very different priorities of the company, Nokia. He says acquiring priorities is fundamental in that they are usually exclusive. A company typically only has room for one set. I would say maybe priorities equivalent to business plan or business model. He says if there are conflicting priorities, which there may have been at Microsoft, they need to be sorted out, else the company can end up in a state of internal conflict and dysfunction. Microsoft. So if you're acquiring a set of priorities, it's likely you'll have to discard your own. It makes most sense when a company which might otherwise be prosperous needs to change direction. And you mentioned Apple and Next. That was a perfect example of Apple, more than acquiring the resources of Next or even the processes of Next, it required the priorities of Next. Steve Jobs was part of that acquisition, and it transformed Apple. So the question for the Microsoft deal is, what is Microsoft buying, he says. And I think it's very interesting. I mean, Nokia, they bought what division of Nokia did they buy? They didn't buy all of it, just the devices and services.
The ones that matters.
The ones that matters, which is what Microsoft says it's in.
And the other interesting point is that, and this is the fun speculation we can engage in podcasts as opposed to really intense news business reporting. It's possible that sort of sheds some light on the timing of Ballmer's announcement of retiring.
Yes,
that they might also be buying a prospective CEO.
Yes, this might be very much like acquiring Next, huh?
Yeah, it made me think that maybe. And this is nothing but speculation. Again, this is the fun conversation you have on podcasts. Let me stress that. That I could foresee a scenario in which Ballmer knew he wanted out. He knew that the other people wanted him out, and now that they sort of have the new guy lined up, they can make that announcement and start that transition without having to actually make any announcements. So that's something that I was wondering, because the Nokia CEO is a pretty sharp guy.
You're talking about Stephen Elop.
I'm sorry.
Former Microsoftie who went to Nokia.
Former Microsoftie, also someone who is sort of tracked for the larger, more glass-lined offices at Microsoft before he left. Who knows as to what his lifelong goals are? Though that would be sort of perfect, cheap irony for this to be a complete Next acquisition where they buy the company and that CEO becomes the new CEO.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's less Next and more HP Palm or more Motorola Google, because the biggest acquisition with Next, it was OS X, but it was Steve Jobs and the corporate culture, like you mentioned. And it's unclear to me what problem Nokia solves for Microsoft that they weren't already doing in a certain fashion. Stephen Elop left Microsoft, went to Nokia. He hasn't exactly increased their market share or increased their value while he was there. So he basically went there, got Nokia down in value so Microsoft could buy it more easily. And Microsoft, if nothing else, has proven with Windows Phone and with the Surface that Windows isn't a feature people want on mobile. It's not a beachhead. It's a barrier to entry. And maybe Nokia would have been more successful without Microsoft. Maybe Microsoft pulled them down more than they pulled Microsoft up. So bringing that in-house to Microsoft when they have that massive corporate culture and no experience in doing devices and things like that, it's unclear to me whether anything changes or anything actually gets better for doing this.
You could make the case, as some have, that Elop destroyed Nokia by choosing Windows Phone when it was clearly the mistake for Nokia to do that, and that some say perhaps Nokia was about to switch to Android, and this could have been a preemptive move to keep them from doing so. Without Nokia, Windows Phone is a flop. I mean, that is very clear. Nobody, HTC, Samsung, they make Windows phones, but they're an afterthought to their Android business.
And to Ben Thompson's point, whoever bought Nokia for their operating system, people bought it because they were fantastic phones, and Windows Phone did nothing to increase the value of them making fantastic hardware.
Android would have been imagine a Nokia 1020, Andy, with an Android operating system. Would that not be a preferable choice?
That would be a preferable choice, but would that have solved Nokia's problems? Would it be if they had become an also in many ways? I think that the 1020 would be an absolute world beater if it ran iOS or Android. On the other hand, you start to look at what is Nokia's goals in producing a phone like that. They don't want to they don't want to be an alternative phone in a market that has at least, I would count at least 6 super premium, wonderful Android phones out there. And now we will capture just those people that really want a great camera. Would you rather have a tighter ecosystem that allows them to do better things than they can do with Android?
I don't know if they can, though.
Let's let Don McAllister, Mr. Internet Lag, join us.
I think one of the things that strikes me with the whole acquisition is the reason why they've done it. And I think Apple have sort of proven over the past decade that, you really do need to own the complete stack of software and hardware, right through. So you can use the synergies between the platform and the software to get the best out of the actual devices that you're making. And I think that's been Microsoft's recent problem, in that, you know, they've been making the platform, they're making the software, but they've had to liaise with third-party suppliers, and, you know, they've gone out on a limb and tried to do their own thing with ASUS, with the Surface. But, you know, they've probably realized now, look, to get control of this and to create the best products, we really do need to own that whole thing from end to end. And the fact that Elop is actually in there as well, I think is a, you know, an extra piece of the puzzle, because, you know, people are suggesting that he is going to take over as the next CEO. I mean, the guy has got some chops as well, because I think he was in Macromedia and sold that to Adobe, and now he's been into Nokia and sold that to, you know, back to Microsoft. So, you know, they probably have realized now that they need to own the whole piece to develop products that might, you know, reach the same class or outclass Apple, and also they're getting the, you know, future CEO potentially within the same deal.
Renee, your turn.
Well, you know, BlackBerry owned the whole piece. You know, Microsoft tried with the Kin, they tried with the Zune, they tried with the Surface. The Apple model works for Apple because of a lot of reasons, not just because they own the entire integration stack. I mean, Nintendo is struggling and they own the whole piece. There's no panacea to success just by owning all your integrated hardware.
Yeah, not saying it's the answer, but that might be what they, you know, have they considered. That's what they've considered as a way forward. Whether or not it's going to do them any good at all is a different debate.
And it might have been a better answer if Nokia got an operating system rather than Microsoft got a manufacturer, sadly, at this point.
Well, that's all there is to say about Nokia Microsoft, and the news cycle has shifted, so goodbye. That was it. It was over. You enjoyed your day in the sun. Good luck to you. Right if you get work. We're going to talk about the invitations. They have appeared, and I will ask the panel if they have received their bubbles. But first, a word from our friends at Citrix, makers of GoToMeeting, the powerfully simple way to meet and collaborate with colleagues and clients anywhere, prospective clients. Meetings are so important. I know, you know, it's kind of the word I hated most when we were working at Tech TV. Time for a meeting. Oh, every day we had the editorial meeting. But I have to admit, it's when you share ideas, it's when you cut through, you know, the organizational morass, when you can really get something done. That's why you have to have meetings. The ideal would be to make meetings more efficient, more effective. And how difficult is it when your teams are spread out, as ours are? We've got Massachusetts, Montreal, and Liverpool here. That's why, you know, it's really great to have a tool that lets you see each other face to face, be on the same screen, cut through the, you know, the organizational morass, get to the point, do it efficiently and quickly. GoToMeeting with HD Faces. It's what we use, and it is fabulous. It lets you see each other. That's really a big boon. It lets you see each other's screens. I want you to try it free for 30 days. You can use it, of course, on a Mac or a PC, but also on any mobile device. You can even present from an iPad. So you can be sitting on your iPad using the iPad's built-in speakers and microphone and camera to attend the meeting. You can show them your screen. You can present. You can have a keynote, you know, beautiful, brilliant keynote pitch on your iPad, and boom, 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 anywhere. I have to say, I really love GoToMeeting. I want you to try it free for 30 days. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button. Please use our promo code MacBreak if you would. Let them know that's where you heard about it. GoToMeeting.com. Meeting is believing. Offer code MacBreak. Anybody get an invitation? I was checking my mail all morning. This is 1 week out from the supposed September 10th. Apple has in the past, and the same seems to be true again this time, sent out invitations exactly 7 days before the meeting. I'm searching my mail for Apple, A-P-P-L-E. Anybody get an invitation? Apple, A-P-P-L-E. Not you, Renee? No, really?
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride, Leo.
I understand. Don's in England. They're probably thinking, no, we're not going to send anything.
Yeah, well, I don't even get an invite to the... they do have a UK event. They sometimes have a big press conference down in London.
Well, they should invite you to that.
Yeah, but if they're going to stream it again this year, and I hope they will, I'm sure they will, do a live event again.
There'd be no point flying to...
I won't fly that way.
Oh, look, I got an iTunes store bill. No, that's not it.
You got an ebook credit.
Andy, come on. You got an invitation, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah!
Hey.
So, you know why I'm happy? Because that your association with me has not tarnished you is the main reason I'm happy.
It's tarnished me, but I'm still getting Apple invitations.
It's made your fork bend. So Jim Dalrymple has a picture on the lip. Of course, Jim got one. And it has bubbles, and the tagline is, "This should brighten everyone's day." Well, obviously, it's iOS 7 bubbles.
Lots of colors. Yeah.
Colorful
what
phone
else?
Bubbles.
Are they announcing a new bubble pipe?
Could be
A new
could
round
be
iPhone.
The iPipe.
bright, shiny new colors. It could be brightening of photos with new smoke.
New filters. Apple announces new filters.
Yeah.
It could be the flashlight in the control center.
I got to say that at this point, every time I see one of these invitations, I flash back to The Amazing Race. I think the host, it's because that's how they phrase the challenges before they tell you what they are.
Yeah.
Our journalists have to choose between two options: a brighter new day or 7 ways to sunshine. In 7 ways to sunshine, they will have a briefing on the 7 new colors of the new iPhone. In brighten your day, they get a 2-hour technical briefing on the new digital signal processor that increases shadow detail by almost 30%.
Ooh.
I have heard
Can't
that
do
there's
the
nothing
accents.
Apple graphic design department likes better than popping open an adult beverage after they send out an invite and just enjoying the internet crazy that follows.
Oh, yeah, just watching. Let's see what happens. Well, they're doing it right now. Hi, hope you're enjoying that, Cristal. So, I mean, there are a couple of things you could say. Maybe a new flash on the camera, but I think obviously it's new colors.
Yeah.
And perhaps new. I mean, the iOS you could say is bright and colorful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to coordinate it, though, aren't they? Because I think that's the whole thing. I think, once you've got those plastic cases with the bright colors and the new iOS 7 sort of color coordinated, and I think I've even seen some screenshots where they've got in the packaging where they have the desktop or the home screen matching the case color and all the nice brightly colored iOS 7 icons. So, yeah, it's going to be lots of colors. Take your sunglasses if you're going, Andy, because it's going to be very, very, very colorful.
You're flying out, right, Andy?
I am indeed.
Yeah.
So I thought that it would be a short walk from the Marriott to your Burbuena Center. It's actually a town hall in Apple. So I understand that there's still a big hippie culture in San Francisco, and if I just stand on Market Street,
I think you can get a ride. Yeah. Going to town hall. Going to town. So that's interesting because that's a very small venue. That's smaller than the Yerba Buena Center. Town hall is just a few hundred people.
150 or something.
Yeah. So that
Where
means
the iPhone 4S event was.
These are rarer than, as my mother used to say, rarer than hen's teeth. These invitations. I'll let you think about that for a minute. But that's good. That's exciting, Andy, that you're one of them. We will be doing our coverage. I do hope they stream, as you said, Don. I hope they stream again.
Yeah.
They did it last time.
Well, the problem was that the stream last time was in that big cinema, wasn't it? It wasn't in the town hall. It was in a much nicer venue.
That's right.
Very large venue.
I don't know what the streaming facilities are in town hall, come to think of it. Yeah. Have they ever streamed from town hall?
They did not stream the iPhone 4S event.
Whether they stream or not, we will be sitting around this table with our Mac experts. I think Scott Bourne has Scott agreed to join us for that. That'd be fun. I don't think he carries an iPhone after all this. Remember, Scott, a regular, as you remember, Andy, on a MacBreak Weekly way back in 2007, was the guy who was so hotly anticipating the first iPhone that some people said he had an iPhone vest made. And, of course, there's a famous picture of him coming out of the Apple store in San Francisco with the first iPhone. He will be joining us, but I'm told he doesn't carry an iPhone anymore, which is... no puppets this time. I'm sorry, Dave A., that you didn't enjoy the puppets last time. We thought the reason for the puppets was last time when there was no stream, we thought we'd do a reenactment, a recreation. And
Dramatic reading.
Yeah. It was okay. But, high concept.
Get Serenity Caldwell back and do radio theater.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's in the town hall, do you think that is sort of indicative of the fact that it is just the iPhone and nothing else? And we probably will see another event in the weeks like they did last year.
I don't think you can read into that, can you? I think it was in town hall because they're doubling down on secrecy, and they didn't want the event date to leak out when they booked Yerba Buena Center.
I don't know about that. I mean, at this point, it's kind of reliable that someone is going to get the date way before anybody else, which I don't think that Apple is resigned to that or even that they think that's a great thing. But Although I will not even speculate as to why it's at town hall instead of downtown. I don't think it's because the date would have leaked. Not with something that is as predictable as September new iPhone. If this were something, if this were something like, gee, Apple hasn't had an announcement in 3 months, and they already refreshed all the MacBook Airs, and they would not release a new iPad 3 months after the last one. This could be a wristwatch. That would be the situation which you'd think that I would read into it as is. I'm just figuring out how to get from San Francisco to Cupertino. That's all.
There's a nice train down there. Here's pictures leaking out of the 5C, which it does indeed. You know what it looks like? Somebody pointed out. It looks like an iPhone 5 in a case, in a colored case.
Yeah, it is. Basically, it's what it is.
Well, great. Wow. Now with the case built in.
Well, I mean, it's a less expensive iPhone 5. Instead of being $650, it'll start around $450, and that'll be a big deal to some people.
What will you give up for the lower price?
The metal back, the aluminum unibody.
You mean the processor? You think it'll the same? The screen will be the same?
I think the last I heard, it's identical to the iPhone 5. It's just got the plastic back, and they'll be able to manufacture
it. And it costs less?
Yeah.
What? Will it have the thumbprint reader or fingerprint reader?
No.
No, that's the other feature.
Yeah.
You still believe in the fingerprint reader for the 5S?
I believe they've been testing the bejesus out of it, and it sounds like if they're still doing that, it's probably good to go. But, they're the people who pulled the camera out of the iPod Touch in the last minute, so I never take anything for granted till Phil Schiller holds it up on stage and tells me it's true.
Rumors are they're arriving in the U.S. already on the container ships, so I think it might be too late to pull out.
By hand. By hand, they're pulling it.
Oh,
They got that ship captain, the one that drinks, that tipped over that cruise ship on the side, just so they'll have an out just in case they decide that they'd rather have the.
Oh, the boat sank. There aren't any.
Shouldn't have hired the poop ship captain. that guy's going to get a stern talking to. Let me tell you.
So there you have it. I mean, I don't know what more to say. We've certainly talked ad nauseum, and I use that phrase literally, about all the features that it may or may not have.
Gold and maybe steel, Leo.
Gold is going to be it. I want gold.
Maybe steel too.
Maybe steel? Oh, yeah, that's new.
Might be a steel gray version.
Black,
as well.
white, gold, and steel. Will steel be actually made of steel?
No, it'll be aluminum. It'll be like a lighter color black, almost like a graphite-y sort of a black, and it'll be on the black plastic. So the white and silver, white and gold, black and slate, black and graphite-y steel colored.
Is there any chance? We should call it blue steel. Somebody in the chat room said yes. Deepan, you're right. Blue steel. Is there any chance? Now I forgot completely what I was going to say.
Is there any chance?
Is there any chance? Any chance at all? I don't know what I was going to say.
Well, heat death of the universe, so really all existence is futile. We will not live long enough to see our own accomplishments reflected in the betterment of society. However, there is a core set of faith.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
You are a believer. Wait, I'm going for
sorry, go ahead.
Whether you are a believer in God or not,
yes,
that the daily struggle is a valid struggle, and that even though you yourself will not reap the rewards of the good works that you do, the fact that you are contributing towards a positive vector for society makes the battle worthwhile.
I'm reading Ernest Becker's The Denial of Death right now, and I beg to differ. It's all hopeless. What I was going to ask is there any chance there will be an iPod announcement at the same time? Isn't this the traditional iPod announcement territory?
There was last year. I mean, last year in September, they did the iPhone and the iPod. The iPod value to Apple is lowering every year. Like they're selling less and less every year, so they could throw it away in a press release or as an aside in the press conference.
Is there any chance that dots will make it to Windows Phone? No, that's the wrong question.
Instagram.
Instagram. So they could conceivably announce iPods. It's like such a who cares thing, but I guess somebody must buy them.
And also let's not forget that it's nice to have an iOS device that is off contract and not as expensive as an iPad. So yes, I think there will always be room for an iPod Touch, and there will always be it might sound gauche to talk about these things, but that Apple is an international prestige product, and there are always going to be some people who, if they have room in their life for like a fitness player, something they're using at the gym, or something if they're on a high school team where they don't want to necessarily risk having their $300 2-year contract iPhone stolen out of a locker. If they're going to buy an MP3 player or digital music player, wouldn't they like to have one with the sporty Apple logo on it? So it's not. So definitely its importance is diminished, but that doesn't mean that it's not important.
I mean,
the other thing.
If you made the iPod Touch a 5S minus phone, that might be even with the fingerprint reader, there might be a market there. I don't know.
With the original job the iPod Touch was hired to do by Apple was to get people onto the App Store. It was their gateway drug, and it's diminishing. They're selling less and less every year, and it looks like the iPhone 5. Part of the reason they're finally going ahead with the iPhone 5C, which is something that they've been playing around with since 2009, 2010, is because the iPod Touch is no longer as good at that as it used to be, and people are going to cheap smartphones to get into the market now instead. So if Apple has a $450 iPhone 5C, which would work out to close to free on contract and still relatively cheap by iPhone standards off contract or under these new plans where you pay off part of it every month, then that might pick up some of that gateway that used to be the iPod Touch.
It also, I suppose,
that's the problem.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's still a phone in the end, and I think they really do need a phone form factor, but that's not a phone, and the iPod Touch is perfect. I mean, I've been using the iPod. I mean, I'm not really a big iPod Touch user, but since iOS 7 came out, I've been using the iPod Touch, as a device to test out some of the betas, and I'm really happy with it. It's a great device. It's so powerful, and the thinness as well is incredible in the iPod Touch. So I still think that they're probably going to revamp this generation and come out with an iPhone 5 version of the iPod Touch. It remains to see whether or not they'll keep the Classic. Is this the year the Classic will actually die a death, or will they actually bring out a decent capacity in the iPod Touch to replace the Classic? Is
128 enough for you, Don? If you went to 128 for the iPhone and iPod Touch, would that be good enough to chuck the Classic?
Yeah, well, to be honest, my storage requirements have sort of gone down because I'm getting more and more into using sort of streaming and Spotify services, So actually carrying my entire library around with me now, I do, but I tend to do that now as a Spotify application with some key tracks synced to the device. But I'm sure we'll see a 128 device come out this year, hopefully.
I'll share. I had a thought the other day that has totally ruined how I look at previous Tim Cook keynotes and is absolutely going to ruin how I look at next week's.
Oh, good. Ruin it for all of us.
And it's going to be, exactly. So it's going to be ruined for me. Okay, here's what occurred to me. He has been seen wearing a Fitbit. Okay, this is in.
He's on the
board,
board,
right?
isn't he? He's on the Nike board.
The Nike Fuel Band board. Yeah.
Fuel Band.
Okay, but I'm sorry, but these devices.
Yes, he's on the Fuel Band board.
Exactly, and not a vague device that kind of looks like one, an actual one.
Yeah, he wears a Fuel Band.
So here's what suddenly occurred to me: what if they have manufacturing stuff inside of Apple? What if he is actually testing Apple's new fitness watch hardware device things, and they simply designed hardware that would fit inside this thing so that he could wear it publicly and use it every day without everybody saying, "Oh my God, did you see what Tim Cook was wearing? Flash, flash, I've got to Gizmodo this immediately." Again, I have no information about this. But considering how, remember that the iPhone 4 was first tested in the field, disguised as an ordinary iPhone with the use of a case, it made me wonder if perhaps this is something interesting that has at least occurred to somebody inside.
Brian Hogg, puppet maker, would you please put a rubber thing around the puppet Tim Cook right now? Around his wrist.
Walks into a bar.
Yeah, is he going to leave it there? So you're saying it's the iWatch in a special fake Fuel Band case?
I don't know. I would say that there would be a long. I'm guessing that there would be a long line of people who would want to be wearing this each and every day to get a sense of what the software should be, of how well the hardware works, how reliable certain designs are, and also how practical it is day to day. Is it collecting data that actually will sort of enable and empower somebody to change to improve their fitness? That this is not the nature of this sort of device is not the sort of thing where they can keep it inside a laptop case and only use it in private. They would have to be wearing it 24/7, and unless they have one of those endoscopic pill sort of things where they could simply swallow it.
They bought a company that does that. You laugh, but they did buy a company that does that.
It's one of those things that, again, if you are alone in your house for several hours and this occurs to you, you'll find yourself taking out the brandy snifter, filling it with Diet Dr. Pepper so you could swirl it as you sip and think. And it occurs to me that perhaps at some point, if at some point there will be Apple employees out wearing these things disguised as other existing familiar exercise bands.
You know what I heard? That the Mac Pro, which we've all been thinking is this big, is actually the size of a coffee mug. That's what I heard. And you could carry it in your back pocket. I think not, Andy, but good. We'll be watching.
No, again, I'm not predicting it. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying that this is the idea that comes into your head, and then it's like the first time that you read online or someone says to you, "Okay, I'm gonna blow your mind. Your mind should be ready to be blown. What if R2D2 actually has access to the Force? Because think about it. It sounds stupid, but he's doing all these things that seem really unlikely. That how was he able to land that pod coincidentally within walking distance of Ben Kenobi, the one person who would be able to use that information so well? It's like, oh
my God, Yoda's
I know you're
inside.
wrong, but now I'm thinking about this, you idiot. You've ruined my afternoon.
I hate to interrupt, but I have to actually confirm Leo's Mac Pro rumor. It's actually here.
There it is.
Look
Look how small that is.
The coffee cup,
The new Mac
sized
Pro.
new Mac Pro.
It's that big.
They shrunk Steve Jobs down too.
What is that? Is that a Raspberry Pi in there?
So it's a 1/3 scale.
That's cool.
Macintosh, and it actually works.
And so for folks listening, it's the form factor of the 128 Mac, the original Mac, but inside is a computer, and it's about the size. It doesn't look much bigger than a Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't know what's that size.
3 inches tall.
3 inches tall. Wow, that's really cool. I'd love to get that. Can you run a web server on it?
I'm sure you could.
You probably could with a Raspberry Pi, yeah.
Yeah. We're saying a lot of this stuff, and I think in a way this is our nervous whistling past the graveyard in response to our fears that Apple, in fact, doesn't have anything mind-boggling, that everything they're going to do is going to be basically evolutionary and maybe of interest to a consumer audience, but not enough for us, we tech journalists, to jump up and down and say, "See, they did it again." Isn't that the fear, Andy? Come on, admit it.
I really don't know.
I don't think it's a fear.
I don't think that a real tech journalist is going to be saying stuff like that.
No, I know, but I am.
That's all I'm saying. And
I am. I really feel that what's happening here is this nervousness that Apple's lost its mojo. And we're really hoping that a week from today, the mojo will be back.
I think that Apple is definitely in ZFG mode on that issue.
Zero field group?
Zero dams given.
ZDG.
It might mean something else that I don't think it does.
No, agreed. I agreed. If you're the company, you're not saying, "Hey, what can we do to blow people's socks off?" You're saying, "Let's just keep making great stuff."
Buy Nokia.
I'm saying that there are bloggers and even some journalists who are going to say stuff like that, and that's one side of the argument. At the other side of the argument is everything that Apple has done even over the past 2 years. And if the iPhone 5 was not banana shaped, as someone would have hoped to see it that way, it's still a fantastic phone with a lot of great stuff on the inside. And the fact that it is still amazingly popular, the fact that their older phones are still amazingly popular, means that they are still producing products that people absolutely are responding to. So it's like at some point, the space shuttle takes off, and it's explosive and it's exciting. There's a rumble you can feel in your chest. At some point, you reach Earth orbit, and then you start doing wonderful work. The fact that there's no longer a mile-long jet of flame and smoke behind you and that rumble in your chest doesn't mean that they're not doing wonderful things. So I think that Apple is certainly mature enough, and they're certainly successful enough to say there are people who are going to be saying that stuff. Let them say that stuff, because each and every month that we aspire to excellence and reach it makes that comment seem even more silly.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to say there as well that, I mean, basically, if they don't come out with something mind-boggling next month, and the likelihood is, or rather than 10 days, or when the next event is, the likelihood is that they won't. They're going to get a lot of pain. They're going to get a lot of pain from tech bloggers, a lot of pain from the tech press, a lot of pain from Wall Street. but it won't affect Apple's products. They will carry on making the products. They will still continue to sell the products, and they'll still sort of, they'll still move forward. They still have the momentum. And then when the next big thing is ready, however long it takes, then, all fears will be dispelled. But they will, and I think they're quite used to sucking up that pain now, because they get it every time there's an announcement that people are complaining they've lost the mojo. But they still keep, plodding on, creating, innovating, and creating new products. And the bottom line is that people still enjoy the products and still are buying them. It's really just Wall Street and the tech press that gives them a hard time over it, I think.
I disagree. I think that there is a thing called momentum. And we saw this happen with Microsoft. For 5 years, people, including myself, have been saying Microsoft is really going on a downhill slide. It takes a while. Microsoft's still making a lot of money, billions of dollars every quarter. But that's not really what we're reporting on. We're reporting, on momentum, on the future, and on mind share. I don't think Apple's going to lose market share in any near-term future. Well, they are a little bit to Android, but I don't think that there's any reason to start bailing out the boat. But at the same time, I don't know if I'm seeing innovation come out of Apple.
What would you have them do, Leo? Like, what are you missing? What could they announce? What would you rather that they announce this time?
Well, I guess a fingerprint reader is innovation if people jump on it. I don't think they will.
When the iPad came out, people said it was boring and unimaginable.
I didn't. I was very clear that the iPad was a massive step forward, and I took a lot of heat for it from a lot of people who said, "Oh, you're crazy."
You were right.
I was right. I don't see that in the future for Apple. And I don't think a watch or a TV is going to do it. Maybe a watch will, but I don't think anything they're going to announce in a week is going to make any difference to people, and I think they're going to continue to lose market share.
My question is, what would? I mean, people say that Apple.
Well, I agree. I don't know what would, but certainly a 4.7-inch phone is not it.
But this isn't the right time for them to do a larger screen phone.
That's a problem for them. That's their cycle that they determine, and that's a problem.
Yes, but that's not a failure. There's a difference between a problem and a failure. And again, so long as Apple introduces change at a rate slightly but not disruptively faster than its users want, they're doing fine. I think that if iOS 7, I think, is a big enough change for 2013. I really think that's very, very true. Agreed. That they are not, it's overkill to say that they are rebooting iOS from scratch, but not that far of a stretch. The reaction that developers have had, and these are not normal users who only expect a consumer experience. They are people who are they have their minds open to change, have been saying nasty things about it and how confused they are about things. They're going to have their hands full in making sure that they sell the idea of here's everything that you're going to get with iOS 7, where you're going to get 2 or 3 weeks worth of pain for sure, but at some point you will get used to the fact that it doesn't work like the old thing, and some of the new things work much better than anything you ever had, and then you will completely forget about those 2 or 3 weeks. All I'm saying is that Apple's product line does not exist for our entertainment. It's I mean, do they want to be Samsung? Do they want to come out with a watch?
That's the wrong way to go too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do they want to come out with, well, we have a 6.1-inch phone. Now we're going to try a 5.85-inch phone just because someone bought a pair of slacks at Banana Republic and complained that they couldn't fit their new Note Mini inside there, so we're going to make one just for that style of pants. I think Apple's doing okay. I think that they have to go a couple of years or 2 or 3 years without having made steps forward in order for that kind of a complaint to stick. So again, it's not as entertaining if we see a new phone that has incredibly improved internals, much faster and a better camera, but looks a lot like the one we had last year. It's okay if that happens. It's not. I would love to see a watch. I would love to see a TV. I would love to see all kinds of things. I would love to see a self-driving car. But again, those are things that entertain me as someone who is a lover of technology and who loves following technology. There's
I think you're doing me a disservice. I am not asking for entertainment. Sorry, okay. I really am asking Apple, what is the innovation you're going to come up with? Is it plastic colored backs, a fingerprint reader nobody uses because you're not going to do the services that work? I guarantee you with it. I think that they need to innovate, and I think that otherwise they're just, as you said, okay. But just okay is not the Apple that we've had for the last 20 years.
If I've done you a disservice by missing something,
I'm not looking for entertainment, Andy. I'm asking, what is Apple going to do to innovate? Because if they don't, they're going to lose this race. You cannot just chug along in this race. This is a race where people are really, truly innovating.
Also very true. But there are a couple of words that I wouldn't say sick and tired of hearing associated with Apple, but I think they're given way too much importance. You hear the word innovation, you hear the word disruption, and if they're not innovating or disrupting, they're not doing a good job. That is part of the matrix of what you need to be a powerful company. And I'm talking about a company that has the ability to control its own destiny and also affect the destiny of other companies by putting things out on the market that totally change the landscape.
I think Apple's coasting on its ecosystem.
They're not.
I think they feel that we got them locked in. We're going to coast on our ecosystem, and it's not entirely their choice because they've set themselves up to this slow cycle.
Any evidence of coasting? I have to respectfully disagrey. That as soon as Apple comes out with something that's brand new that we really haven't seen before, then everybody will forget that they rested on their laurels for a couple of years. What's going to happen is that people are going to look back and realize that they do lots of work, consider lots of things all the time. Not all of them make sense for fall of 2013 because other components that only Apple has really considered or Apple really cares about have been factored into that decision. So I don't believe that they've been coasting. I think that I do agree that I think that they see the value of lock-in, that if they make the platform more attractive, number one, but also more difficult to switch away from, that's something that benefits them in the long run. But I think they have seen this movie so many times before, played with so many other actors like BlackBerry, like Microsoft, like Palm in the starring role. They know what happens if they simply count on their existing market continuing to be happy with what they're doing and continuing to be resistant to changing to something that's newer and better. I do not believe that Apple would ever allow themselves to coast in that manner. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think you both have really valid points. I think Andy's giving the rational argument, and I'm in love with Andy's argument. And it's one I wish I could make as well as he does. But Leo, I think you're absolutely nailing a common perception, and perception for a lot of people is reality. And there's definitely a market perception that Apple is not enjoying the market gratitude that it used to be getting. And I also don't think people inside Apple are completely unaware of that. I think they're absolutely aware of that. And that's why I wrote that article about the iPhone 5S problem earlier in this year. But the reason I asked the question about what would you see them do is I think that there are a lot of people who are saying Apple's not innovating and Apple is not moving fast enough. But when you ask them, it's like that famous, like President Bartlett, what are the next 10 words? No one really knows what they want to see next because the watch isn't big enough. The car is not really attainable. The TV doesn't seem quite right. Mobile is right now the present and the future, and they've already done their big phone and tablet plays there. And Apple's going to be doing the same thing they did with the Mac, and that is incremental increases until the market is ready or till they determine there's a go-to-market strategy for the watch and for the TV set. And I think, to Andy's point, they're just going to have to put up with the public sentiment that people aren't as happy with them or don't believe they're as innovative anymore as they could be, while still putting out fantastic products that are more evolutionary.
Yeah. All right, your turn, Don.
Right, I was going to say, I think Apple are constrained as well. They have the technology, and they could quite easily develop a phone with a bigger screen. They could do lots of things and have a product out to market very, very quickly. But they're constrained by timing, and I think they really, and that's one of the major factors that guides their product launches, is the timing of when a product comes out, and just hitting that sort of perfect storm of getting everything in place. And, just not creating a product for the product's sake, but creating a product that they know people will, need at that time. And that might be, the wearable device. I know we call it a watch, but let's just call it a wearable device. It mightn't be until, the summer of next year when they've got everything, all their ducks in a row and the infrastructure in place, and they've got the metrics in place that they want to measure, and they've got the software written. And, it's only at that time when everything comes together and when the market is right for that particular product that they will actually release it. And this is why, we don't see, although we see incremental innovation in the existing products, that's why we don't see these huge product launches of brand new platforms and brand new products like we saw with the iPad. Every year, it's every 3 or 4 years when they spend time to actually get the product right, but crucially to get the timing right as well, because that's so critical. And also, don't forget as well with Apple is that they're also constrained by volume, in that any product that they sell, they're going to have to ship in huge volumes. So there's the whole product and manufacturing and Q&A and everything. They've got to get in place before they can launch a product. So it's all this, carefully considered. well thought out, very cautious approach to product launches so that they know that the product will actually be a success.
Yeah, no, I agree. They have a lot of constraints, and it all sounds like apologetics when it comes down to what are they doing about it. They're in a very constrained situation, and so is that going to be the reason that they don't do anything interesting? Because, well, we can't, because McDonald's has a hard time announcing a new hamburger because they sell so much that they'd use all the beef available in the United States. So you're right. That's a constraint.
Yeah.
There's lots of constraints. Their timetable they set themselves is a constraint.
There's also, I don't think they've ever been under as much pressure from competition as they have in 2013. Because
I agree. That's the problem.
Whereas last year, a year before, we could have an argument over whether or not the iPhone was still the best phone on the market. Now you kind of sound stupid if you express that not as an opinion but as a fact, because there's so many other great phones out there. Also, now Apple is about to not necessarily lose the MacBook Air supremacy, but now that we have the Haswell processors that bring most of the missing features from Ultrabooks that were one time only present in the MacBook Air, now you can get ultra long battery life, really great power, cool running on a device that costs maybe $500 or $600 or $600 or $700 instead of $1,000 to $1,300. So Apple's just never had other companies nipping at their heels in so many categories as they have in 2013. And this, above anything else, is why I don't think that Apple is going to stop trying to find the next big thing, or rather the next big thing that makes complete sense for the Apple product line.
I mean, God knows they have a lot of cash. They have the resources. There does seem to be, and I hear this apology made a lot, there aren't enough engineers. Apple doesn't seem to be able to work on more than one product at a time.
Not enough factories anymore, Leo.
Not enough factories.
I mean, they're running out of factory.
Yeah.
But
if you're an engineer, who do you go to work for these days? If you're coming out of college and you're brilliant, you're one of the top 5 programmers in the country, do you go to Apple? Do you go to Google? Do you go to Facebook? Do you go to Microsoft?
Startup.
Yes, I was going to say startup. I think that most of the people that I know that are out of college, their first 3 or 4 years of their careers as engineers are freelancing.
Right.
That they're not, of course, they're not averse to getting that wonderful the folder from Google with the offer letter, but mostly they are working on 4 different projects, each of which tickle different parts of their engineer's soul.
So there's another constraint. You're not getting the brightest minds.
Yeah.
You buy the company that has the brightest minds, Leo.
Like Algo Trim. What is? They do mobile media and data compression. This is another Apple. Apple's been doing little acquisitions every week. Another one. What does Algo Trim do? Anybody?
Data compression.
Anybody? It's a Swedish firm.
Those inflatable exercise pants that melt up pounds and inches while you
they're made out of algae. It could be an acquire where you're getting brains engineering talent. This is, by the way, why companies like Apple buy companies like Algo Trim, because the smart kids come out of college, they do a startup, and then Google or Facebook or Apple comes along and says, "Oh, we'll buy that company, not for the product. We don't care about the product, for the people."
It's like the NFL draft.
Yeah, it is like the draft.
Only with better knees. You don't have to have an MRI before you get recruited by Google.
And maybe this is a measure of success. Apple is the company most targeted by patent trolls.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's that might be a lagging indicator, trailing indicator.
Might be a size of bank account indicator.
We got the cash. Why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is, says Willie.
You don't throw yourself in front of a 1989 Toyota. You throw yourself in front of a 2012 M5 rather.
Apple's iPhone Train-In program. What do you think about that? They've decided they're trialing it right now to let you trade in your old iPhone and get a pretty decent amount of cash. I'm looking at some charts done by a variety of different groups, and it looks like the cash amount is somewhat comparable to, say, Gazelle or somebody like that. Let me close the ad on CNBC. So for a 16-gig iPhone 5, Amazon will give you $389.50, Apple give you $336, Gazelle $330, Radio Shack $300, Verizon, of course, $259. Let's go farther back. Let's go an iPhone 4, not even a 4S. Apple is offering, if it's in perfect condition, $151. You could is Amazon, they're giving you a gift card, not money, but they're offering $200, Gazelle $135. I guess there's a certain similarity to all these numbers, except for Verizon.
You have to buy a new iPhone at an Apple store, though. It's
on contract.
It's a trade-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not
Really
like
interesting.
we get cash back.
The really interesting thing about this to me is it ties into everything you were saying before, Leo, and that Apple, they made the iPhone, and for a long time they established the iPhone, their primary business. Now they're doing an iPhone 5C because just like the iPad mini, for some people, there's a maximum price they're willing to pay, and Apple won't make a cheap iPhone, but they'll make a less expensive one. And then theoretically next year, they'll make a larger screen iPhone for people in emerging markets who only have one device and need something bigger than a phone, but need a phone more than a tablet. But there's still this huge umbrella underneath that in the iPod line, the Shuffle and the Nano filled. And Apple's not going to make a Shuffle or a Nano phone, but what they can do is do these refurbished phones and sell them in emerging markets and to lower end markets and to prepaid phone markets. And then they've covered the entire spectrum with iOS devices. And I think a lot of companies from carriers to Apple are getting really interested in this secondhand market.
Yeah, that sounds like really smart, and also sounds as though Apple is really looking carefully at all the places where they think that in the iPhone where they feel as though they're leaving money on the table. And if someone buys a cheaper Android phone that doesn't work quite so well instead of an iPhone, then Apple's leaving money on the table. If a second-hand market lets them put products in hands of people that would normally not go for a more traditional product line, then that's also money they're leaving on the table. So it seems as though they're really trying to fine-tune the business of making sure that making the iPhone as ubiquitous as a Coke or a Big Mac.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, more with Andy Anako, Chicago Sun-Times, who will be, in fact, skying his way to the beautiful Apple Town Hall next Tuesday for the Big Apple announcement. What time is the announcement, Andy? Is it 9 a.m.?
10 o'clock.
10 a.m.
Doors open at 9. Things open.
So we'll start probably live here out of our studio, 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern time, and do our live coverage. I know I'll be here. Sarah Lane, Tom Merritt, and do we know yet if Scott Bourne is going to be? Karsten, Scott will be here. Anybody else you want to let us know? Do we know Chris Breen, Jason Snell? Chris Breen. Okay, that'll be fun. Jason's probably in the hall. And then, Andy, when you come out of Town Hall, will you call us? Will you FaceTime us?
I will call you once I'm away from the demo area or away from whatever. I think I probably should not try to even phone in from the demo area or inside, but I will definitely be.
Oh, come on! Becky Worley not only phoned in from the demo area, but sandbagged Steve Jobs.
Maybe I should be wearing these like during the event too.
Yes, wear your Google Glass.
And you wonder why you don't get invited to these things.
This is why Andy can't have nice events.
Here's Leo's impulse control. Here is Andy's impulse control.
No, that's called being a reporter. Come on, Andy. We expect this of you.
A good reporter protects his sources.
That's
a great
true.
Reporter protects his career.
I have no desire to protect Apple, as is obvious. And then Renee and Don, I'm sure you will be watching from a distance with envy.
I'll be across the street at alt.iPhone event at the Phil's Coffee House. My current plan.
Of course, the great Don McAllister joining us from Screencasts Online. Nice to have you from Liverpool. Looks like you're making music. Are you making music in there?
No, I'm just no. That's my mixer, and I'm just playing about with the iPad.
You got an iPad mixer and
Logic, yeah, whatever. Yeah,
very beautiful. How you like the new Logic? Pretty sweet, huh?
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Henry really loves it. My son makes music with Logic, and he loves it. Loves it.
Oh, cool. We're an all eyeglasses panel today.
Yes, we are. We're all blind from staring at computers too much. Renee Ritchie, also blind from imore.com. He may be blind, but he doth see very well. Hey, I was listening to your interview with Sasha Segan of PC Magazine this week. Sasha runs the amazing PC Magazine speed tests on all the wireless carriers in the U.S. and Canada, and I have never heard such a great description of what the wireless mess, how it got there, and what's going on in the U.S. anyway.
He is so smart and has a real ability to explain those crazy 4-letter soup words to normal humans.
It was really fascinating. imore.com if you want to hear that, their latest podcast. Our show today brought to you by Squarespace. We've got a special deal for you from squarespace.com. You know about it. We love Squarespace, the all-in-one platform, hosting and software that makes it easy to host your own professional website. Now, I say professional. It could be just professional looking. It could be your hobby. Online portfolio if you're a photographer, designer, artist, If you're selling things, man, I mean, talk about turning it into a business. Squarespace Commerce is amazing. We're still looking at many of your. In fact, let me take a look on the Twitter. If you tweet us with the hashtag #TwitSquarespace with the URL of your Squarespace site, it's fun for us to look at the various Squarespace sites that people are setting up. One of the things I like about Squarespace is it's easy to set up a beautiful site. We'll go to the musicservice.net. This is a music review site that's done on Squarespace. The musicservice.net. Let me type it in here. It's a blog. They're using a very beautiful, simple blog template. Makes it very easy to navigate. Under the new music section, you'll find embedded music videos that play right from the Squarespace site. Nicely done. And look how attractively done as well. I mean, it really feels like, it's not pulling you off to a YouTube site. I got it here if you want to, or you could do it on yours, whatever. But it just plays beautifully right within the Squarespace template. This is their music discovery page. Posts on all your favorite social media. And look, when I go back to the homepage, I love the beautiful banner they've got with a vinyl record. Anyway, this is an example. Every Squarespace site starts with the same amazing templates. They're mobile responsive design, so if I squeeze the page or I watch it on a mobile device, it reformats to look great no matter what size. That's one of the real advantages of the template. However, you customize it completely, even if you're not a developer or a designer. Just drag and drop. Makes it very easy to make it unique. Here it is. The Butler Did It. AVI.com. What is that? The Butler Did It. These are all people who tweeted us. Is it AVL.com? It's a cleaning company. I love it. Can you pull it up? I'm having trouble typing it exactly right. Is it AVL? Let's see if I'm typing it right. Yeah, I am. It's a business and office cleaning. This is gorgeous. This is a Squarespace site. Look at this. So you don't have to know anything about design. These guys really just made it look great. Squarespace templates. They use the forms to request quotes. Here, let me go to request a quote. This is a Squarespace form. And they really have a simple way of doing this. By the way, you cannot bring a Squarespace site down, no matter what, no matter how hard you try, because it's the best hosting. Okay, one more. You want a beer blog? How about justanotherbeerblog.com? Just another beer blog. No, not clog, blog.com. Just Another Beer Clog is a whole different site. Are you getting it there?
I'm sure, and also that it does great SEO if you just.
Oh yeah, it's easy to find.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm typing the URLs.
You just search for it.
Look at the Quench Your Visual Thirst section. There's a gorgeous beer gallery there. This is a template that was customized with an interesting banner and background color. Looks great on mobile sites. I think Squarespace is amazing. It's constantly improved. Because it's hosting plus software, you don't have to worry about updating the software. They do it for you. They keep it secure and updated. New features, new designs, better support, all automatic. They've won numerous design awards, FWA, the Webby's Forbes Awards, AWWW Awards, 24/7 support from an amazing support team. They recently got a Gold Stevie Award for their support and service. And the price is right. It starts at $8 a month, including the free domain name when you sign up for a year. We're going to make that price even better. Use the offer code MacBreak9. Now, here's the deal. You go to squarespace.com. You could try it for 2 weeks. No credit card needed. But when you decide to say, hey, this is going to be my new home on the web, use the offer code MacBreak and the number 9. You'll get 20% off by showing your support for MacBreak Weekly. Thank you, Squarespace, for showing your support for MacBreak Weekly, and invite you to do the same. Squarespace.com, when it's time to buy MacBreak 9 for the month of September. We're in the 9th month. Is the offer code MacBreak 9 for 20% off. Anything more to say about, there won't be iPad September 10th, according to Jim Dalrymple. But he's been saying that all along. I love how Jim does this. This was quoted in Mac Rumors, buried in an article about Apple's upcoming Tokyo retail store. Bloomberg briefly mentions Apple's event. We'll see the introduction of not only new iPhone models, but also new iPads. Jim says, nope. No new iPads. Nope. Jim's really made this his brand. Now that's innovation.
I wish that I could produce columns and articles of as much value as Jim's in just 3 words. I have to go to 2,000 before I even start to, okay, this is worth people's time reading it. I am impressed and humbled.
Nope.
Well, it's got to the state now where if an announcement comes out, I just go across the loop and see what Jim
Yes or no?
Is
Nope.
it yes or a no? And
why does he have such great sources? Is Apple like plugging him in? Is Apple doing something there?
He live blogged the original iPod announcement, Leo. He's old school.
He's been there that long.
Yeah.
He worked at Apple, didn't he, for a while?
That's what I know of. He was at Macworld for a long time.
Macworld. That's right. Yeah. I confuse it too. I don't know if you've fired up your Apple TV lately, but if you did, boy, the icons go off the screen now. They've added Vivo, Disney XD, Weather Channel, Smithsonian. It goes on and on and on. I've actually been watching the Vivo channel. It's kind of a nice way to listen to music and have the video on the screen.
It killed my Apple TV, Leo.
Did it? You can't launch it anymore?
I went to Vivo. I hit the first button, which was Lady Gaga, and then it would not stop. There was no control worked anymore. It was just Gaga after Gaga after Gaga.
I had that happen to me too. It's so funny. I was watching Applause, and then it just segued right into the next one, the next one, and the next one, the next one. But I was able to back out of it.
I couldn't. I had to unplug it and wait.
I think it was the Village People feature film that put it best when it said, "You can't stop the music."
Can't stop the
it's nice to see, but I think Apple at some point in fact, the point is now, needs to have some sort of control of this. Somebody on Twit told us there is a nice feature. If you go into the parental controls, which you would not think to do, but if you're not a parent, but if you go to parental controls, you can turn off any of those channels. So if you don't watch, what is that, Crunchyroll, which I don't, that's the anime channel, you can remove it as if it's a parental control. I took Disney out immediately. That's the parental control. I don't want any kids channels. Get off of my lawn.
Connect plugin for it.
Yeah.
So you can actually run Plex on your Apple TV without jailbreaking.
You can?
You can. Well, how can I put this? It's not a jailbroken Apple TV, but it is a bit of a hack. You have to run a device or a piece of code on your Mac where you're running your Plex media server, and that runs a little web server, and then you go across to your Apple TV and change your DNS settings, and you now have to install a certificate, but it's very easy to do. And then you can actually run Plex on your Apple TV, and it works brilliantly. Now, I actually did this in last week's Screencast Online, and the day before I published the show, Apple went and broke it because they changed it. They used the Trailers app. They went and broke it, and then 6 hours later, someone found a fix, so I was able to rescue my show. So it's working now, but there's no guarantee that it'll carry on working. And
well, anybody who uses Plex is used to doing stuff like that. I mean, that's just part. That's part of the course.
Great,
so.
It's Plex Connect. It's fantastic.
Awesome, Plex Connect. Good tip.
And the interesting thing about this is that, for a long time, there's been talk about an Apple SDK for the Apple TV, and a lot of people have heard that Apple's working on it. A lot of developers have, been planning things for it, and yet Apple just continually rolls out these partner channels, and it looks like that's not getting any attention in the short term either.
Yeah. Rumor is Time Warner cable integration in the works. By the way, good news. Just in time for football, you'll be able to watch CBS on Time Warner again. What a shock. MG Siegler tweeted that. Oh, my. Really? Just in time for football. I wonder why that happened. On-demand weather. ESPN. I do see a nasty trend towards putting the word watch in the icon. I think that really Apple should tell people not to do that.
Yeah, because you see that a lot with the channels on Roku, where you get so much screen clutter that now all these channel makers are kind of empowered to say, well, we got to make this as garish and eye-popping as possible just to be seen. And so, compare the NBA icon, compare the iTunes radio icon to all of these third-party ones, and they just get louder and louder.
Doesn't Apple control that? Can't they? I mean, Steve Jobs famously called Vic Gundotra at church to say the gradient wasn't good in the Google icon. Can't Apple say, Hey, no Disney. I guess they can't say that to Disney. And by the way,
Supposedly Steve
ESPN
Jobs
is
didn't
also
like this.
Disney, isn't it? They're all Disney properties.
Supposedly Steve Jobs didn't like it. At least the guy on the Apple TV team who tweeted it said Steve Jobs did not like this interface and canned it. And then they brought
Yeah,
it back.
that's right. I remember that. But it's back.
Maybe exactly for this reason. I mean, I think I would like to think that this is an indicator that Apple's going to revamp the interface so that this clutter is not so big a problem. But sometimes Apple is not as together as we all imagine it to be. So it's possible that it's going to have to break before someone really pays attention to it.
It's like the Eye of Sauron. When it's on a product, it's burning and glaring, and when it's not, it's absolute complete darkness.
Yeah.
Peter Kafka reporting on All Things D, which is quite interesting, that the Weather Channel has live capability. So that while most of this stuff, as always with Apple TV, is canned, rerun, if there is Apple TV can do live, we know because of the iTunes Music Festival, which started.
The Apple event channel.
Right, and the keynote streaming,
Yeah. So that's cool. I think it'd be very interesting to see live storm coverage, things like that.
What was interesting with the Plex Connect thing actually is that because people had installed the Plex Connect on their Apple TV, they sort of vowed, right, that's it. Plex is working on the Apple TV. I'm not actually going to ever upgrade my Apple TV now. I'm going to keep it, as it is. But what it was is that it actually uses the Trailer app, which is an Apple Trailer app, and they can actually push, as we've seen, apps can just appear and disappear. So they don't have to push down an update to the Apple TV to bring these new channels in and out. They can actually do that sort of on the fly. So that made everyone, because they changed the Trailer app, everyone's Plex Connects broke.
Right. I stand corrected. The Disney channels also, if you are a subscriber on cable, will show live. And I guess at some point, Time Warner will do that.
I wonder if the cable companies even care about that. So long as they've got, because we see so many channels where you get premium content on tablets for free. So long as you can sign in and prove that, yes, I'm a Verizon or Comcast subscriber, here is my login information on that site. Great. So now I can get everything that HBO has on this app for free forever, or as long as I keep paying. But I noticed, for instance, though, that Verizon pushed an update to my DVR so that now when I turn it on, instead of taking me right back to the channel that I was on, that channel is now in picture-in-picture, and the entire screen is, here's wonderful things on pay-per-view. Here are other events you can buy than just by simply pushing one of these colorful buttons. That I wonder how much of their business is tailored towards embracing technology like Apple TV, because it makes people want to buy premium services. It makes them want to buy better internet connections, versus it steals away from them the ability to sell other things. If they're sort of inviting Apple TV users to keep going out for dinner instead of staying home and raiding the icebox, or excuse me, using the hotel room mini fridge for the $18 Toblerone bar.
Why is Toblerone so damn expensive?
Because it's so damn tasty.
I always reach for that, and then I realize, oh my God, that's gonna cost more than a fine meal in a restaurant downstairs.
Android 9.3 Toblerone.
My latest idea for $1 million selling iOS app, or it'll be iOS and Android, is that you essentially take a picture of your mini bar. It uses your location. Say, okay, there is a Walgreens. It's 0.1 miles away. It's open for the next 3 hours. It can sell you that Toblerone for 89 cents. As a matter of fact, would you like me to place an order at that Walgreens for everything inside this mini bar? Great, that comes to $16 for the entire contents, including booze.
We'll bring you the box.
Yeah. And here's a map to how to get there.
I was just at a hotel where, I hate that. They do this in Vegas, too, where it automatically bills you as soon as you move anything.
Yeah.
You can't, it's like, too bad you bought it. But I'm trying to, nope, you bought it.
You knocked the whole bar over, you're in for a grand.
You bought it.
Loudest argument the most hostile interaction I ever had with a hotel staff was a San Francisco hotel. This was before they had those special sensors in there, so this was like a while back. So I simply, there's like 3 Cokes in the fridge. I simply put in, I bought a 12-pack of Coke and I was putting mine in. But every day during the week, the cleaning staff was counting the empty Coke cans in this barrel, and so they presented me with a bill for something like $180. And because I was like a 28-year-old journalist who doesn't dressed like a successful 28-year-old anything. They would say, "Oh, you must do. No, we know you're just going to have to pay this bill, or there's going to be trouble." At which point, I blinked and I said, "You realize that I never want to be in this hotel ever again. So there's nothing stopping me from creating the most hellacious fit inside this lobby where everybody's waiting to check in about what a bunch of idiots you are."
Oh, good.
So do you want me to do that,
Oh,
or do you
good.
want me to simply say, "Yes, thank you very much for taking those fraudulent charges off my"? Oh goodness! So I still remember that. Oh man, I came so close to saying I should just start shrieking anyway.
Scream! Bloody
You
murder.
won't like Andy when he's angry.
What else do you have, like a chance for absolutely justified righteous anger? You just don't have that opportunity often in life.
I'm too scared to ever do that. I don't know why. I've been trained by my parents.
Because you'll look around and see like a million of these.
The day Leo lost it in the... Yeah.
Not loses it on Vine.
Have you guys ever pulled the "Do you know who I am"?
Never. Because they will tell me that they don't
Nobody
know who I am.
knows.
And that
They
would be
don't.
very sad for me.
Yeah. I just did it recently and it didn't work. That's even more humiliating.
There was a great.
That's why you never do it.
The Electronic Arts, the stupid Simpsons tapped out game, which somehow just crashes on me. I can't use it anymore, but they still owe me for 1,400 donuts that I purchased. That's like $100 worth of donuts. And I've, and millions of dollars in Simpson coin. So last week I finally sent him the note saying, you understand that I'm on I don't do a podcast, that doesn't work. But I do say, you understand I'm on a radio show that's heard in 200 cities in the United States with over 1 million listeners every weekend, and I heard nothing back. So that's embarrassing. So don't.
It was a.
I hate doing that. I'm trying again. I don't ever want to do the "Do you know who I am?" I would like that phone for free. I don't want to do that.
There was a great Twitter a couple weeks ago where Don Melton took his iMac in for service at an Apple store and maybe wasn't so happy with it and did pull the card that, I created Safari.
Oh, I like that one. Did it work?
Apparently he got excellent service.
Yeah. I created Safari. That would work. I knew Steve Jobs. I played volleyball with Steve Jobs. Does that help? Does that help at all?
Leo, do that.
Yeah. No, that's not going to help. I'm just never going to buy another Electronic Arts project, except for Plants vs. Zombies, which is quite good. See, they got me. They keep pulling me in. U.S. government says Android is malware. That's something Apple should start, telling people.
They are.
Android I'm sorry, I left out the last word, is a malware magnet, thanks to OS fragmentation. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI says Android devices expose U.S. agencies to a significantly greater malware threat, in part because so many devices run outdated versions of the mobile OS. This is the kind of press you just can't buy.
Sure you can.
Perhaps it's time for an iOS, Android, app. Whereas we had the Mac and PC apps; they were very popular.
Yeah,
do iOS and Android apps, and
it looks like a misleading story though, because it gives you indications of percent. Like if there's 8 infected devices and 9 of them are Android, I mean that's an insignificant number, but it's a huge percentage. Those articles are always very nebulous to me.
As a matter of fact, there was an XKCD cartoon about this just last week about saying, "Oh my God, chances are more than double of us getting eaten by a shark who's firing laser beams. We go to this beach. We should go to the other beach." Where it's, twice a really, really insignificant percentage is still a really insignificant percentage.
It's still insignificant. Android they have activated now 1 billion Android devices. They just crossed that line. And the next version of Android, I don't know how this happened, is going to be called not key lime pie. They do it alphabetically. So there was eclair, donut, eclair, froyo, gingerbread, hot potato, hot pocket. What was H? I never can remember H. Honeycomb, thank you.
Honeycomb.
Ice cream sandwich. And jelly bean, making me hungry. None of those are brand names, but Kit Kat is. It's a brand, a Nestle trademark. Apparently Nestle knows and doesn't care. But that's the next version of Android, according to the BBC. I think that sounds like a joke. Yeah. Kit Kat. What's wrong with key lime pie? Come on.
Well, it's very, very tart. You can't really have dairy products with it.
They're doing a crossover, Leo. If you're going to go into what are they called, depaners in America, 7-Elevens, you'll see all these Kit Kats with little Android logos on them.
Really?
Some of them will have tickets that give you a free Nexus
Is that
device.
true?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Were you kidding me?
It's Willy
Golden
Wonka.
tickets. Yeah.
I'm going to go buy some Kit Kat bars.
Green tickets.
It's like I really wish I could see the browser history on this decision. That it was probably like something that they were actually using internally, and then they said, "Well, what the hell? Let's use this." But we're gonna have to like get permission to use it, and then people who like don't work with code got into the involvement. That's why I was saying that I hope that Google said, "Well, look, we're going to be promoting your brand. We're going to have to insist you give us $65,000." Just to sweeten the deal a little bit.
Prepare for a sweet new treat. This is android.com/KitKat. I thought this was a joke from the BBC. I really didn't believe it. Android is blah, 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 to make this really Kit Kat chance to win a Nexus 7 or Google Play credit. But you got to eat Kit Kat bars, which suck. So check if you've won.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get a code on it or something like that.
What is Nestle going to do? What is the company going to do when this version of Android is released and now like there's the 3 months later it's like deadly virus in Kit Kat.
Yeah.
Experts
Department of Homeland Security says Kit Kat bars are 10 times more likely to harbor malware.
Kit Kat adoption slow.
Are they going to make an Android Kit Kat?
Kit Kat tied to identity theft and mortgage fraud. I think the next version of if they're smart is going to be called like Ferrari 428. Because if this was just a scam to get free Kit Kat bars, the entire company, you know. Or
Actually, somebody did say
no. The next version is going to be called Android Mac Pro.
Yes.
Someone said on Twitter that it's the new advert for the event next week. It's actually Smarties. So it's
Smarties. Those are little Smarties
instead of Kit Kats. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Apple would ever do anything like this.
Ever. No, I don't think that.
No.
It seems so down market in a way.
I know it would be funny if it were like a butt-headed astronomer thing, a Sagan thing, and they got sued by the company for it. But when it's like, no, we can turn this into a synergistic co-marketing thing. It's like that's not really classy, but okay.
Are they gonna when they get to tea? Are they gonna call it Tim Tams?
No, Toblerone.
Toblerone.
I mean, Leo, they do have a branding problem because, like, everyone goes in and buys an iPhone, but there's so many different brands and sub-brands. There's Droids and people would go in and buy a Samsung phone. At least this way, they get some attention back on Android.
It's good for Android.
Actually, that is a good fit because there's also Kit Kat fragmentation because now you got the white chocolate Kit Kat. Now you got the Kit Kat, the giant Kit Kat with mint, giant Kit Kat with caramel.
Is Kit Kat worldwide? Are they called Kit Kats in Germany? Yes, they are. They're called Kit Kats in the UK. Cream. Are they called Kit Kats in Canada?
Yes.
Or are they called Tim's Bits?
Look, Kit Kat.
Look, Kit Kat.
Les Chat.
Look, Kit Kat. In France, they're called the Cat Royale. From College Humor. Every tech commercial ever made. Watch.
When I'm watching a commercial for a new tech device, I'm looking for an ad that's fun.
That's cool. That's edited way too fast.
Fast.
With a lot of lines repeated a bunch, just like that.
Like that.
And starring young professionals with creative jobs.
Jobs you're not even sure exist. I'm a wicker weaver.
I'm looking for a commercial that uses words like now.
Emotion.
Global.
Spoken totally out of context.
Or in unison while laughing. Fast.
I want an ad with diversity. Because it doesn't matter if you're a guy.
Or a girl.
White. Or black. I want to see lots of small businessmen and women, like architects.
Gardeners. Bakers.
A whole lot of bakers.
Or at least someone holding a baguette, like me.
I'm looking for a commercial set to an indie rock song, one that uses a lot of accordion.
Or glockenspiel.
Or this instrument.
Most of all, I'm just looking for a good product. Shop. No, one with kids. Cute kids, though.
Hey guys, can you see me? Hi, I miss you.
And a soldier. Hey, Bubba. You know, emotional.
His daddy.
That's what'll get me to buy a smartphone.
Or a wearable computer.
Or a website that finally puts me in the driver's seat.
Whatever that means.
One more baker.
And a logo without text.
That's the best. I love the logo. Wow. We've seen all of those.
I'm buying that immediately.
Whatever it is, I want it. Somebody in the chat room said, what's this an ad for? Every tech product ever made. That's what it's an ad for.
Surprised they didn't point out, and occasionally looks not at the camera, but at a man or person just outside the camera.
In a white room.
In a world.
In a world. God, I can't. You'd think, speaking of Electronic Arts, you'd think they'd have gotten it right when they screwed up the SimCity release on Windows. Now they're screwing it up on Mac. Day one issues, SimCity for the Mac. It was a mess. It was a mess on the Windows side. I was very disappointed. The servers were down. They decided to postpone the release until August of the SimCity for the Mac. Already people are having all sorts of similar server problems. Sorry about that. It's a great game, sort of.
You can play it.
You can play it. I was more excited about it until I realized you can't build a very big city. There's limits around your. Anyway. I don't care. I don't have time to play SimCity. I'm busy making Simpsons Tapped Out work. I think we should take a break and come back with our picks of the week. What do you say, kids? Any other stories you wanted to talk about? Anyone? Bueller? All right. Andy goes,
I'm just trying to screw up your frame rate.
Our show today brought to you by our good friends at Audible.com. I'm not going to recommend the book I'm reading right now because it's a little too depressing. It's called The Denial of Death by Ernest Baker, but I actually think it's actually great. I should have read it in college. That's when most people read it. But you don't, so that's the point is that Audible has 150,000 titles, some of them extremely serious. The 1913 Hugo Award winner, the 2013 Hugo Award winner, John Scalzi's Red Shirts, narrated by Will Wheaton. A lot of people have been raving about this. It just won the Hugo Award for Best Novel for 2013. Would be a great choice for you. What are you listening to, Andy Ihnatko?
My recommendation this time is actually a book that I read like 8 years ago and really, really loved, and just noticed a couple days ago that it was available on Audible. It's called Confederates in the Attic: Dispatches from the Unfinished Civil War by Tony Horwitz. This guy just spent some time hanging out with Civil War reenactors, and I love these books that help you to get some insight into a hobby that some people love and some people are passionate about that you have absolutely no knowledge or connection to, because this book he talks to and hangs out with a whole bunch of people covering a really broad spectrum of people who are into this hobby, from people who just enjoy an opportunity to spend weekends just sleeping in grass and reenacting battles, to people who feel as though they're doing very, very serious work, to people who feel as though they are putting themselves in touch with a time of American history that they personally feel that they were a little bit more compatible with than the current times that they're living in. So it covers a really broad spectrum, and you learn things about people that you just would never have experienced otherwise. Again, like there are those who dress up in more Halloween costumey sort of Civil War gear, and then there are the people that are so intensely into it that they never ever their uniforms are perfectly accurate. They never launder
buttons,
them.
no zippers.
But not just that, but completely accurate down to the thread count, down to the hand stitching, down to the fact that they sweated through them for 4 days and then they kept it in a sealed container since the last one, so it would still be absolutely rank. They're going to be eating for 3 days hardtack that is infested with weevils, pork that is maggoty and rotten, because that's exactly the field conditions that they feel as though the soldiers in this battle would have had. So it's and then you have, as a comic book nerd, of course I know nothing of this sort of obsession, but then there are the people who are like, well, I can't believe that you come in your RV, you're wearing a plastic sword, you've got Halloween blood coming out of your mouth. How come you're not bloated with dysentery? I was drinking water from ruts in the roads for 8 weeks to make sure that I would have diarrhea for 4 weeks, because that's the way that the Confederate soldier would have been when he was at Manassas. I'm like, all right, I really just wanted to take my kids and get one of those old timey photos. Maybe I'm sorry. So the only bad thing about this book is that I read the unabridged version so long ago. I actually read it in paperback, believe it or not. Wow. This is the abridged version, but every bit of that book I really, really enjoyed. So I'm really happy that I spotted it so I could recommend it today.
Very good. There's so many good. It's hard to narrow it down, but we're going to get you one book and at least get you started. New Jim Henson biography just came out. That should be.
I know. I saw that today when I was loading up this up. Like, okay, we're going to be using a credit on that one.
Actually, not out until September 24th, so it's coming.
Yes, but it's like, okay. I don't know why I talk like Colonel Klink when I see a really good pre-order.
Hogan.
Benson.
This looks really, really good. I just, this is the thing. I love books. You can tell Andy loves books. You probably love books, but who has time nowadays to read books, And I get home, I'm tired. I start a book, I fall asleep. This is why Audible is so great. There's plenty of time in your day when you're driving a car, working out, walking the dog, washing the dishes. I was folding laundry this morning. You can't hold a book while you're folding laundry, but you know what? You could listen to a book. I get hours every day just because I can listen, and that's why Audible is so great. It brought books back into my life back in 2000 when I joined Audible, and I started listening during my daily commute. I know you're going to love Audible. I want you to try it. First book's free. That's what they always say, isn't it? Go to audible.com/MacBreak. You'll be signing up for the Gold account. That's probably the most economical way to listen to Audible. It's a subscription. You get a book every month or a credit to a book every month. Almost all the books on Audible are 1 credit. You also get, by the way, the daily audio edition of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, your choice. And that's a nice feature of the subscription we don't mention enough. Audible.com/MacBreak. That first 30 days is free. Your first credit is free. Cancel anytime in the first 30 days. You'll pay nothing, but you can keep the book. It's yours forever. And, frankly, I think you're going to want to stick around. Audible.com/MacBreak. That Jim Henson biography comes out September 24th. Which is sad because I'm leaving on my vacation on September 17th. But I have so many books. Wonderful books to listen to. My library is chock full of books. Audible.com. I just downloaded a book I loved, Cryptonomicon, and I haven't, it's time to reread it. 42 hours. That should get me through the trip. Audible.com/MacBreak. Try it today. Free. Time for our picks of the week. I got one for you, Renee Ritchie. Just came out on the Mac App Store.
Yes.
This is you already know what I'm talking about. Was this going to be your pick?
Nope. I saved it for you, Leo.
Thank you. The only people who care about this pick are me and Renee, because we have more Hue light bulbs than any human alive.
Yeah.
Hue is this light bulb, the LED light bulb from Philips that is an RGB. There's a new company doing this too, by the way. I should mention. And Hue has just announced, besides the light bulbs, now they have standalone lamps and they have LED strips. You can control them all with a new $3 program from the Mac App Store, not from Philips. It's called Hue Menu. Hue Menu. It adds a menu to your Mac. I have it, but I can't show it to you because I don't have Hues here at the studio. I should really set up some Hue lamps at the studio. But it lets you change colors, random mode, all lights on, all lights off. You can this is actually probably better than the Hue app itself, which is kind of wonky. You create presets. You can see where your lamp is right now. It's really a nice little app for managing Hue. So now I'm looking at the reviews. They seem to be very negative. So I just downloaded and installed it, but I can't try it. So maybe wait. Before you download it. It sounds like things are not working very reliably on this program. So let me check it, and I will get back to you. Looking at the reviews now, I should have checked these first. A lot of people say it's not working. Not working. So let me check. Hue is a little funky that way. And even the Hue app itself is a little funky. So okay, I take it back. Not a recommendation. Don't buy it. I will report back to you next week after I try it at home.
Unless you're an experimenter, because it's only really the price of a cup of coffee.
$3,
so if you want
big
to just
deal.
Mess around with your Hue, yeah.
Yeah. And I have a feeling that it will... they'll get it working. I'm more and more, the more I use Hue, as with Renee, the more we want to play with it and do other things with it. If This Then That combined with Hue is a great...
And Amplify, which makes a huge change color with your music, is also fantastic.
Have you? I have it on my phone. I haven't used it yet. Is it fun?
Yeah, I've used it. It's a lot of fun, especially when you have a group of people, a party, a bunch of kids, whatever. People just start dancing.
Yeah, that's good.
You want everyone to make out.
All right, the Hue says time to make out. There is another Hue app that's free. Maybe you should try this first, called Colors for Hue. It also sits in your menu bar. The reviews are much more positive for this, and it is free after all. So maybe that would be the one to try, Colors for Hue, and the reviews are much more positive on this one. Although in many cases, if people are having trouble getting these apps to connect to the base station, I don't know, I've had problems with even the Hue app doing that, so I'm wondering if it's a little funky.
I'm hoping there'll be a new Hue app because things that require controls to be pulled up from the bottom won't last long on iOS 7, I'm thinking.
Oh, that's right. That's going to be very confusing. You know, it's very common. You'll see the little hamburger on a tab on the bottom that you pull up, and Hue is one of them. But that's going to interfere with the new notifications, isn't it?
With Control Center, yeah.
Or Control Center, rather, yeah. Renee, what's your pick of the week?
My pick of the week is an app, and I have to confess I haven't tried it yet, but I have several friends of mine who I adore who've tried it out and told me I have to absolutely check it. It's called Desk Connect, and it's written by a very young, I think he's 17 years old. And it's one of those cases where there's, a long time ago, Microsoft very famously put the ribbon bar in Office. And Microsoft told Bill Gates there's no way to have it revert to the default position. And some young kid in a week did it. And this is the same thing. Apple is going to be doing AirDrop on iOS 7. And Apple has not had the time or the ability to put AirDrop that works between OS 10 and iOS. So what this guy did is he set up something very similar to AirDrop. It's a free app in the Mac App Store. And you can use it to send little bits of shareable data between your Mac and your iPhone. It's all the sorts of things you wish that you could just use AirDrop, that you wish Apple would just build in, and I'm sure they will build in eventually. But until that, amazing day, this will handle a lot of those things. MacBreak is going to push map data. That looks like it's it so far, but this will push most of the stuff that Apple allows to be pushed to an iOS.
Clever.
That'll love the kids. They can do anything.
17. How much is it?
It's free.
Free? Free as in free.
Yep. Free as in Google.
From Screencasts Online, Don McAllister's here. Are you going on another Geek Cruise anytime soon, you and Barbara?
Yeah, we're going on the one in next year.
I saw that. That looks good. But that's up your neck of the woods. It's Scotland.
Yeah. It's actually it actually calls into Liverpool.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Well, it's an easy cruise. Where does it start?
It starts in Harwich, and then it goes down to northern France, Channel Islands, and then up to Southern Ireland, I think.
Sounds fun.
And then across to Liverpool, up to Scotland, and back down to Wales, and then back around again.
That'll be MacMania 17, June of next year. God, I can't believe they're already up to 17. The British Isles. And yes, there's Don smiling. Oh, Chris Marquardt's going on that. Oh, my God, Sal Segoyan, Derek Story. Look at the people who are going on this. That's fabulous.
There's more.
Bob Levitas, Dr. Mac. Wow.
Good crew.
Bebo White is great, too. This is a great team, Joe Cassell. So, Hampton Court is worth seeing. See, that's Windsor Castle. That's great. That's the pre-cruise. Stonehenge and Bath. Or do you say Bath?
Bath. Well, it depends where you come from in the UK.
Bath.
We say
Bath. That sounds like fun. Well, good. That sounds like a lot of fun. Everybody should sign up for that.
Although you missed a trick there. Instead of coming on the cruise, what you should have done was organize that you can be one of the excursions, so that for $280 plus local tax.
Go see.
Before I got the invite, I'd already sent out a few emails to my MacMania friends saying I'll get a van and
come see me. I'm in Liverpool. Well,
I'll show you the Tesco's and I'll show you the.
Captain Neil and I talked about because remember you were on that one, I think, where they sailed up and down the California coast and they stopped at San Francisco. I said, Captain Neil, if you want us to be an excursion, we'll be an excursion for you. Yeah. But they never did that. So.
Yeah, there you go.
So what's your pick of the week, Donnie?
Right, my pick, it's not a new application. It's been out for a while, but it's one of my favorite ones. It's on the iPhone. It's free. I haven't actually covered it on Screencast Online because it's quite difficult to demonstrate because it's a location-based application. And it's called Twist. The tagline is twist-on my way if you're looking for it in the App Store. And basically what it allows you to do, it allows you to create a twist that you send to somebody. And what a twist is, it's a way of tracking you on a journey. So if you're going to head off to visit someone, you can actually select their destination, select their contact details, and send them a twist. They can download the app, and then they can actually see on a live map where you are. And you can also message them on the way, and if you're going to be late, it'll send them a notification that they're going to be late. And it works fantastically. You can also request an arrival time from someone as well, and they can send it to you so you can track when they're actually coming to you. But I've used it several times, and it works flawlessly. My son sent me one when he was traveling back from university, and I actually saw him coming all the way over the Pennines and into Liverpool, and then straight past our house, and then to the local shops and stopped there, and then came back to our house again. So he came and said, why did you go to the shops? And he sort of forgotten he'd sent me the twist. I said, how did you know that? So it's a great, but it really is a great way of, if you're waiting for people to arrive and you want to just make sure that they're okay or just keeping track on people, it's a brilliant application.
I've been using Glimpse, Glympse, which does the same thing for a long time. How is it different, or is it different at all?
I'm not sure. I did use Glimpse in the early days, but I don't know why I didn't stop using it. I started to use this about 6 or 7 months ago, and it fits the bill.
I've used both, and my impression is that Twist is really great for one of those. You're actually meeting up somebody at a certain place, and everybody's converging in the same location. You want to make sure you know what their situation, what their destination is. Glimpse is not quite that good at that. Glimpse is better for I've got a 45-minute window or 2-hour window in which I want these people to be able to know where I am, and I want those people to know where they are. Excuse me, I want to know where they are too. So Glimpse is more of a place where we're all at Disney World. We're going to separate for an hour, and I want to make sure that if I need to find my uncle or my niece, I know exactly where they are or how close we are. Because for the one thing that Glimpse doesn't do very well, I think, is notifications. So Twist is great because you just tap it and then forget about it. Because as Don says, if you get stuck in traffic, if you have to stop off someplace on the way, if you get into car trouble or something, you don't have to do anything because Twist will simply send out notifications saying, okay, we have a revised ETA for Andy. Andy will now be there at 5:25 and not 5:10. And then people can go check in. So they're close in operation, but I think the Twist is much, much better at that sort of thing.
Well, I'm going to start using Twist. Forget Glimpse. Bye-bye, Glimpse. Andy, what do you got for us?
I got a couple of things. I love AutoClip. That's that
Isn't
wonderful.
It fun?
Like,
yeah,
it's just such a missing link because in the iPhone 4 and 5, you have a phone that's really practically as good as a camera, and the only thing that you can't really do with it is go a little bit wider, which is what the AutoClip will let you do, and so the AutoClip lets you do that. Now they've added there are two things that they've added that have one that's been kind of essential for me, and one that I've really, really wanted. This is the AutoClip Telephoto, which gives you a 2x telephoto lens. There you go. There. Hello, this is me being very, very small. And now if I turn it around, this is me being bigger. Slightly bigger. Bigger, Andy. Hello. Yes. A graphical demonstration that, yes, this is in fact a telephoto lens. So it's a 2x telephoto. It also comes with a circular polarizer lens, which you can use with or without, as an option, so that the circular polarizer will let you deepen colors without doing it in a fake digital way. It also lets you do things like if you want to take a picture of something that's under glass in a museum, by twisting the circular polarizer, it will sort of rebend some of those lights so that the reflections will be minimized or even removed altogether. And it's not cheap. It's like $129, but that's the difference between having true optical 2x as opposed to, well, I'll just pinch and zoom and I'll make the pixels bigger. So if you are one of those people, those awful people in that Nokia commercial, taking video of their kid like on stage and you're 8 rows back, you will have a much, much better video of them because you actually shot it with a telephoto lens. The other thing though is something that whether you have the original or not, is something I've been wanting for a long, long time. I love AutoClip, but I don't love the fact that it means that because it clips right onto your phone, you can't keep it inside a case. So AutoClip decided to develop a case that accommodates the AutoClip. So here's what it is, and it looks like your basic case, but when you want to put your AutoClip on, you can just simply flip this part over and click your AutoClip into place. He said, zip, zip, as easy as that. And so now it's out of the way, so you can have your nice case. It's also kind of cool because if you look at what it actually did, I love the AutoClip people. They must be really great at those like twisting nail puzzles and sliding tile puzzles because they really are good at figuring things out. So it's all you have to do to make this work if you're a designer is, well, just have something that covers up this, but then can slip out of the way. But then someone came up with the clever idea of, gee, if we like make this bit kind of springy and we make sure that the other part of it sort of naturally lands over the volume button, we can actually turn this into a shutter button. So that you push this down and now you're pushing the shutter. So that's really quite cool. Also, as part of the same package, I believe it's $59, you also get this little dealie right here, which when you snap it in, adds a tripod mount and also a little like dumb bracket I'm sliding the little dingus off of that, so that you can actually put in like a flash or, an LED illuminator or a microphone. And as you can see, it doesn't make it that much bulkier or heavier. It holds it securely, and when you want to get rid of it, it just pops right off. So there are a lot of different solutions to turning the iPhone into something that's more camera-like. I think that the Olloclip people really have the right idea, because they try to get those solutions and make them work in a way that doesn't make the iPhone as big and bulky and inconvenient as a camera. It tries to accommodate the fact that this is a very slim, lightweight, and cool device, and tries to get that stuff working without making it less cool and making it as adding as little bulk and weight as possible. So again, this is not an inexpensive lens, but again, compare a shot that was made with this optical 2x lens versus just blowing it up manually, and you will see that, yep, I would. This costs a lot less money than it would cost to go to recreate my kid's recital and have that and get a little bit closer. So good stuff.
Are you using that or the 1020?
I'm using the 1020.
Yeah.
It's
so.
That stuff's fantastic, though. I've tried it too.
I love the Olloclip. Yeah, and I have the case. I haven't put it on yet, but I have the case. I'm waiting for the new iPhone 5S. So I want to revise my pick, and then we'll get to you, Renee. Since I had two sucky picks, I noticed that the Lumineers are just about to take the stage in the iTunes Festival all month long. Free concerts live on your Apple TV, on your iTunes, on your iPad. The iTunes Festival is really a very cool thing. And right now, I shouldn't even say this because everybody's going to go there instead of watch the show, but Lumineers is about to take the stage in today's iTunes Festival. This is really a neat thing that Apple does. I really enjoy it. Some great bands. Not Miley Cyrus. And now your pick of the week, Mr. Renee Ritchie, iMore.com.
I did mine. Disconnect.
Never mind. We're done. What am I saying? We're done. Thank you so much for being here, Don McAllister. We're never having you back. You didn't talk enough. I'm just teasing you. Just teasing you. We love you. And please come back soon. Anytime.
Can I just mention as well that I don't think it was last time when I was on. I don't think I had a special. I've got a special offer going over at Screencast Online. In that there's a summer school promotion, which technically it's not quite finished because we're not quite at the end of summer, but it's basically a 3 months membership for anyone who signs up. So if you've always wanted to try it out but never wanted to pay for a membership, you can actually go in now and get a 3 months membership completely gratis.
Please do that, and you will, like Audible, you will become hooked. Screencastsonline.com. Don does such a great job.
Access to all the archives, access to a complimentary edition of the Newsstand magazine, and a month's worth of free shows as well.
What a good deal. Thank you, Don.
No problem.
Renee Ritchie, iMore.com. Maybe we'll see you next Tuesday for the big announcement. I guess, how are we going to do this, Chad? We'll do the Apple reveal, and then we'll do MacBreak, as we usually do, MacBreak Weekly immediately after.
Right.
So MacBreak Weekly will be a little late, more like noon or whenever Apple's event is done. And
right.
I'll tell you what, we'll get you on then. How about that, Renee?
Absolutely.
Get your impressions of the new whatever.
The new stuff.
The new hotness. Andy and Anaka will be also joining us, I'm sure, via FaceTime from Cupertino as he hitchhikes home.
I'm hoping for a hippie bus.
I'm sure we could find you something.
What's the 3 words? Grass, cash, or
something else? A donkey. I believe you have to have a donkey with you.
I'll bring.
No one rides for free. Yeah.
Maybe someone will like Fig Newtons.
You could bring a small goat.
Small goat. Goats I have.
Do you really?
I don't know if I can buy him an extra seat. Or actually, if I hold him in a Snuggly, is that okay? I don't know what the original. I'll look it up.
I don't know why. I see more and more dogs on airplanes. I didn't think that was even okay, but now apparently people are able to bring their small pets onto airplanes. It's not crowded enough.
Barely bring luggage on my airplane anymore.
Yeah. I know, but bring a dog, sure.
Turn it off during takeoff and landing.
You got a mammal that might poop and pee in the seat, but at least it's not because he's drunk. So okay, that's good. That's got to count for something.
Thank you everybody for being here. We do MacBreak Weekly Tuesdays, 11 a.m. As I said, next week it'll be a little bit later because of the Apple event. In fact, you should really just join us early next week. We'll begin our broadcast around 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern Time. 16:30 UTC, I believe, if I did my math correctly, on twit.tv, and then right after MacBreak Weekly. But normally it's 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC on twit.tv. Of course, we make on-demand audio and video available after the fact at twit.tv/MBW for MacBreak Weekly. And if you'd like to be in our studio audience, this show is probably the second most attended show after the Sunday Twit. We'd love to have you. Just email tickets at twit.tv. We'll put a chair out for you. Have a nice little Kit Kat bar waiting for you when you come in. They're waving. We have people from Germany, from Canada, and from the U.S. visiting us. It's very nice from North Carolina. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next time. Now get back to work because break time is over.